Guys, welcome back to another episode of Bike Talk with BikeLane. This is Bike Checks with Ed. I'm Ed, and this is the giant Revolt Advanced Carbon. So this guy is a gravel bike. So a gravel bike / endurance bike is kind of your do-it-all road bike if you guys aren't familiar with gravel bikes. So starting with the frame here, this is a full carbon fiber frame and fork. The geometry of the bike is meant to be kind of nimble, but still kind of an endurance bike, more of a relaxed road bike. So the chainstay is really short chainstay. It has an endurance style top tube, so meaning the head angle is a little more relaxed, so it sits a little higher, so it gets a little more upright, you're not really too down. And then the geometry of the top tube is also makes it a little more slack, so it's a little more relaxed. So it's kind of an aggressive, comfortable road bike. That being said, moving up to the cockpit. Up top here, Giant gives you a XRD Giant handlebar. It's a Defuse seat handlebar. So it's kind of like the seat post. So it's a 31/8 clamp, but then the handlebar tapers off into a flat surface on the bottom. So it does have a little bit of flex to it. So it's almost acts as suspension, but it's not suspension. It's just a flat handlebar that gives a little bit of mobility, so it'll help absorb some bumps and bruises in the road, or even when you're off-roading. So this guy has 85-degree back sweep, and it does have flare bottoms. So it does give you a little more agility if you wanted to get a little more aggressive while riding. To hold this handlebar, Giant gives you a 70mm reach stem, which does have upsweep to it, so you can almost flip it down, make yourself a little more aggressive. So everything up front on the cockpit is just meant to be a little more comfort than anything else. Comfort and agility. Dropping down here, you get a full carbon fork, carbon steer, carbon lowers. Holding that on that fork, we have the Giant PX2 wheel set. So this is a through axle bicycle, which is a huge plus. It makes the bike a lot more rigid, a lot stronger. So this is a 12mm through axle up front, sealed bearing wheels. This is a 30mm wide wheel. Giant intentionally made this bicycle with plenty of tire clearance, so you can always put a wider tire on here. On here we have the Giant Crosscut AT1 tires, which are a 75 PSI tubeless tire. So these guys at 75 PSI, they're great for riding on the road because they do have knobs on them. They're an aggressive off-road tire, but it's still a smooth kind of tread tire down the middle, so you can still ride this in the street and commute with it. At 75 PSI, this will give you pretty low rolling resistance, and then you can drop it down if you're going off-road. At least you want to put like 50 PSI in your tire. These are tubeless. It's a 30mm wide wheel, as mentioned. Plenty of clearance in the fork and in the rear chainstay if you want to upgrade your tires to something a little wider. A wider tire is going to make your bike a little slower, but it will give you some more comfort and cushion because it'll be a lower pressure tire, or you could run a lower pressure tire because you have a little more protection between you and the road. And then to stop this wheel, we have the GRX RX 600 brake caliper, and we have up top the GRX RX 800 shifter hydraulic disc brake combo. So this is a hydraulic disc brake. We do have fins on the brake pads to help keep it cool if you're doing some very aggressive riding. So the GRX brake comes with a 160mm rotor, semi-metallic brake pads, steel rotor. Moving to the back, Giant gives you the same tire, the same Crosscut AT1, 75 PSI max, tubeless. Same wheel, PX2, 30mm wide. On the back here, we have also a 12mm through axle, giving the bike more rigidity. Same GRX RX brake, which is Shimano, by the way. Steel rotor, 160mm. Moving over to the drivetrain. So on the drivetrain, you get the GRX RX rear derailleur and front derailleur. So on the back, the spread is an 1134. This is an 11-speed bike in the back, and you have 2 gears in the front. So the 11 is going to be your harder ring, so if you really want to get things moving and you want to get some speed, you can drop into the 11. Your 34 is going to be your granny, it's going to be the softer gear. Up front here on the chain wheel, we have 170 millimeter, that's always a tongue twister, 170 millimeter aluminum crank arms with aluminum chain rings. So this is the Praxis ALB crank. So two-piece crank. So the arm and the spindle here are one piece, and it's just a left arm, which again gives the bike more rigidity. So everything about a high-performance bike is just meant to be stiff yet flexible. So it can perform under pressure and under any big crazy drops or jumps or anything you guys feel like doing on your bike. The spread here is a 32/48, which I'm going to double check that. Yes, 32/48. 32 being your grinding gear, 48 being your bigger ring. So an 11, 48 that's a big gear. So if you really want to go fast on this bike, you really want to commute, you really want to ride it as road, you could really get some power out of this. Giant gives you the Defuse seat post as well. The Defuse seat post is shock absorbent, so it's stiff yet flexible. Giant gives you the contact seat, which I didn't measure out. So we have a 145 millimeter wide saddle and 265 millimeters long. So it's a pretty narrow saddle. It's not super wide. It's meant to be more aggressive than comfort. I would suggest riding it out and feeling it out. It actually feels pretty comfortable. And then one thing that I forgot to mention is that at this level, you do not get pedals with your bicycle. So on here, if you're going to be riding aggressively, clips are definitely a big plus. You can really get some more power there. You can really push your bike. If you guys have any questions or concerns, you can always come by the shop, text, email, message. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you guys have